look, I know we talked about this like what 3 weeks ago about how people kind of look at Japan and how their whole gaming space is just basically not what it should be or what it used to be anymore. How it's basically just dictated by DEI or basically, you know, the Western market and how it is. But when it comes down to it, I was just looking at a few tweets from Raging Golden Eagle, how he was just kind of going on about, how it's not as good as it used to be anymore, how we kind of got to go to different countries for the things that we want to see. And it just goes on and on. And when it comes down to it, it's just like, it's true. Again, we talked about before, but it really is that damn deep. It's just like, why can't we have that stuff like we used to? And it's not the fact that Japan can't do it or no one out there in that country would want to. It's just because of the other two things that I've already said that's halting it, right? And companies are probably not going to willingly want to take a risk unless it's just like a new company or something like that, And even then, they probably still could get halted, which is a lot of nonsense. But when it comes down to it, though, it just goes to show you that the great creations of what we used to have, especially and mainly in the gaming space, doesn't really too much exist anymore. Because if we really were to look at, what Japan has or had back then, the only things I can think of that I've seen recently or that I know exists out there is like Samurai Kagura, but that's dead. Then you have, I think, Oni-chanbara, which I've never heard of before. And I saw a screenshot and I'm like, oh damn, and I was surprised. And so when I come down to it, I'm like, why haven't I heard about this damn game before? So there is that. You also do have, like, I guess, time in action, like the Time in Asagi series, which is like, sure, but do people even play that gacha game like that? Granted, it do be having some fine ass women in there, completely and utterly fine ass women that be existing within that whole thing, but that kind of was always like an eroge. So when it comes down to it, it's like, it is what it is when it comes down to it, and not a lot of people probably even accept it like that, which is also kind of sad and unfortunate. Then at the very same time, you did had Koikatsu and the people that ran that. Now granted, those people that made Koikatsu still do exist. They still have a game that's out there, but they kind of just do it under a different name because the previous studio had to close. But when it comes down to it, though, you have something like Koikatsu, which is honestly Japan's greatest gift, if I'm being honest, with the crazy shit that you can do with it. I mean, if you've been on this channel long enough, you would see what we have done. But when it comes down to it, that's really all the stuff I can think of that, they have. And sure, there's like mobile games and stuff like that, but nothing really that crazy, or it doesn't really show anything that's worth a lot of people's time. And that's just kind of how it is, unfortunately, right? There's not a lot of things in the gaming space that you can think of that is like worth the time to kind of see, that isn't just a censored mess. Really, the whole Sero kind of ESRB thing they have over there, it just, honestly, it's just awful. And when you really compare that to something of what we got now in the gacha space of just China and Korea, and look at their games, it feels like night and day. Right? Because how many times have you seen people just beat off to literally anybody from ZZZ, right? Because hell, you've had a whole bath scene of Caesar's trailer that dropped today, and was that necessary to show? Hell no. But at the very end of the day, was it nice to see? Of course it was, because Japan ain't gonna provide that type of content anymore, or they ain't trying to provide that shit hard. So we need to go somewhere else, or anybody else within that damn game in itself is just on some peak level. They're just on some nice peak ass level, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see that there is some fine ass women that exist out there, especially with character designs that's very well pulled off, when it comes down to it, especially after seeing so many shitty designs from the West and Concord and other games of the sort that's basically the same, just like it, or even worse. It's nice to see that, hey, we can still have games in the anime style that has beautiful looking characters in it, and it just looks absolutely amazing, right? That's what it feels like. What it really feels like is that these countries took Japan's whole anime aesthetic and then brought it back to what it should be, you know? And that's kind of crazy, especially for China to do this of all things, considering the restrictions of how much they can and cannot show over there. It's kind of crazy, especially again with how much they done with ZZZ and all that type of junk, right? And not even just ZZZ, but Genshin as well. You know, Genshin's a bit more modest, very demure, very ladylike. When it comes down to it, it's like they still could cook, because I'm pretty sure 90% of people would like to clap the shit out of Yelan or Kaching or Beto or Barbara and Noelle or whoever, and it's still some good ass time. Like, you still see people just very much being hyped and horny for some damn characters. I know when Mavuika comes out, when her damn, you know, character trailer or demo or whatever comes out, best believe people are about to just bust all over their screens. Like, that's just how it is. And then if we go to Korea and kind of look at the things that is over there, you got Nike, you got Blue Archive. It's just like you got a lot of stuff. And hell, one beautiful thing that we did get this year obviously was Still a Blade, which was not a gacha game, but its own single, you know, one player kind of adventure type of action game or whatever. And it's just like, damn, why can't we have a game like that that's not even gacha? Why can't we have something like that? And imagine if we had a game like that drop and come through in an anime art style. Boy, that would be peak. That would be so damn peak. And really, again, this whole situation, when it comes down to, you know, Japan and how it is, it's very hard, again, for people that want to experiment or bring something back, like Chainsaw, Lollipop Chainsaw, you know, that game that recently came out, or at least was remastered and remade and all that type of junk. When it come down to it, the dev of that game basically was like, yo, we're bringing this shit back and we're gonna do our damnedest to not censor as hard. And if you want the censor version, you have a option to take the censor to take the censor version, right? Where you got the repop mode and it's just the regular original mode, right? And it's just like, that's great, that's good. This is just like Bayonetta 3. Why can't we just have an option if that's the case? I get it, it's a lot more work. You gotta go back to old scenes and kind of make everything more stiff and not necessarily show too much. And I get it, that's a lot of damn work. But at the very same time, if we can't have a game that doesn't even give us the option and it's just forced to be one way and nothing, it's like, well, that's not really good enough, honestly. And at that point, it's just like, you might as well just do the original, you know? And that's just how it is. And again, you got a lot of different Japanese devs that exist out there that absolutely do not care for the modern take of how, you know, certain games are being done and certain jokes and things that can't be said anymore or looked down upon now, which used to be fine. Like, hell, I think Kodaka, the creator of Danganronpa, said it best, where he was just like, yo, I'm just making games for the people that like my style of games and the things I like. And if you don't like that, then, you know, it's fine, it's whatever, but I'm gonna make it for the people that I do like. And I wish we had more people that was just of that mentality, you know? I wish we had it, because hell, even in the West, you know, we had good ideas, good character designs. Hell, Rogue from X-Men was fine as hell back in the 90s. I didn't see the 90s, but I can imagine it was glorious to see Rogue's ass every Saturday or whenever the new episode of X-Men would come out. But when it comes down to it, we don't get shit like that no more. And rarely do they come back. And when they do come back, they dumb it down a lot, which is unfortunate, extremely sad, and doesn't make a lot of sense. And obviously, looking at a lot of character designs that we get nowadays within the West is a night and day experience. And don't get me wrong, there's still some good character designs that we have in a modern-ish type era. Maybe not in this generation, but in previous generations still, you know, like 2010s and whatever. You know, you still have some good shit. Like Ruby character designs are pretty damn good. I think everybody would like to clap the shit out of them. Like, honestly, forget Bumblebee for 5 seconds and just put the dick right in the middle. Like, that's just how it feels. You also had like TMNT like in 2012 with April, fine thick ass. Even the animators of that damn show knew April was thick. There was so much ass that she had in that damn show, it was honestly crazy. Again, you have good like character design still, but not as much as it used to be, not as prominent as it used to be, and it's just overly sad, right? So overall, it makes a lot of sense why people just miss having fine ass women. It just makes a lot of sense. You don't have to necessarily jam every part of that into every facet of fiction, but at the very least, have it as an option that people can go to, even if it's not something that you want to mainly focus on. Still have it there available for people to see, because people like that shit at the end of the day, right? That's just how it is. You can't necessarily just take one thing and then try to mix it with a whole nother thing and then think people are going to still understand you or, you know, want to stay, because that's just not how it goes, honestly. And that's Japan right now. Or I guess like in a, you know, more recent case, Fruits, because of the recent document they put out, which also, this tweet was insane. I ain't gonna necessarily lie. That's a tweet. That's definitely a tweet. I could say something crazy here, but I think this tweet already was pretty crazy enough. But that's really what I wanted to nail down and kind of talk about. It's just the fact that there is so much heat, especially in the gacha space, when it comes down to a lot of these female characters designs and just all things in general. And it's like Japan is definitely missing out, dropping the ball, and very much has the smallest amount of contributions to what's going on. I mean, because again, yeah, you had like IPs before, they kind of died, and no one really knows about them, or, you know, it's not really supported that much. Because again, I would honestly say Time and Asagi, like the time and action game, is literally like their only best thing they got right now. And that's essentially it. They don't got really much of anything else, and it's sad. But that's essentially what I really wanted to say for this one, so hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also follow me on the socials and like to the channel. Kofi and Gacha is available as well. And until then, it's your boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.